Hey, Arcturus here. Today we're looking at the LEGO Dungeons & Dragons set from LEGO Ideas. This is set 21348 and comes with 3,745 pieces and builds a nice Dungeons & Dragon themed set. It has ruins, it has wizards, it has heroes, a tavern, various monsters from Dungeons & Dragons, including the iconic Beholder and Owlbear, as well as a few others, and of course, a very large red dragon. You get 4 heroes in this set, a dwarf cleric, a gnome fighter, an orc rogue, and an elvish wizard. You also get a variety of monsters, including skeletons and a gelatinous cube, as well as Beholder, Owlbear, some mushroom men, and an evil wizard. It is a rather large set. The dragon is larger than I expected from what I saw on the box, although I probably shouldn't have been surprised. I think the dragon goes together very well. We'll take a closer look at him and the minifigures in a moment, but let's look at the main portion of the set first. So I'm going to move. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, so here is the outside portion of the set. I'll move our Beholder since I just knocked him off as well. Take a look at him a little bit later. Also move the Owlbear. We have a nice outside sort of display, including a nice entrance to a tavern and some outdoor exploration. I think the set really embodies the 3 main themes of D&D, and those are social, exploration, and combat, essentially. You have the tavern, which is the traditional starting point for any adventure. You have the outdoor ruins, and you have the large castle, or at least the ruins of a castle where the sorcerer lives, or maybe it's a sorcerer's tower, however you want to think of it. On the outside, you have some plants, some nice pine trees built here. I like that style of building the trees. I think it works really well. You also have a large treant, which is, at least I consider it a treant because it does have this face piece here, kind of built into the side of this hill. And then you also have some tentacles creeping up, maybe a kraken trying to join the side of the monster here, maybe one of the more eldritch abominations. Some nice blue tiling around the outside for being near a port, but you have a small little dock here for fishing off of. And you can see there in the back, we have a few more monsters. We'll get to those in a moment. The set does separate into 3 pieces. We have this one large piece here, and then 2 smaller ones on the back side here. And this links up into the tavern. The set does make use of a few sticker pieces, but not too many for a set of this size. And we'll look at the tower and its basement in a moment. Let's start off with the tavern. So this is in plain sight. Fun little play on words. Builds a small tavern. When I was building this, I kind of found myself wishing the tavern portion was larger because this part was pretty fun. It reminded me of the LEGO blacksmith set as well, just with that same sort of medieval style construction or any of the other medieval sets. I quite like this. It is a small building, but you can, like many of the modular buildings, remove the upper floor so you get better access to the ground floor here. This also doubles as a small shop. You have the inn, and then you also have places for weapons, or maybe those are the adventurers' weapons if they're here enjoying a drink and some food. A nice fireplace in there as well. It does use the modular connections there, but a pretty simple construction for the ground floor. We'll set that off to the side, and we'll look at the upper floor. The upper floor is a little more intriguing. It does have some nice access here. You do have a small chest filled with treasure. And I'll set this down for a second. You do have a nice small chest filled with treasure. And if you do notice those little eyes there on top, this is also a mimic, which is another typical D&D monster. However, this does fit quite nicely with the bed, which makes use of similar type pieces to also be a mimic to eat whatever unsuspecting adventurer may come in. Has a small fireplace here in the room as well, and a nice little window section there. Some of the exterior pieces are a little delicate and don't attach super strongly. Their connections are only 1 or 2 studs, so it is a little easy to bump things off of the side of this. I think it does make a better display set than a play set, but you could certainly use it as a play set. I do like the mimic bed. We'll pull that out to take a closer look. Just a nice hinged section there. And it opens into the waiting jaws of the mimic. Otherwise, it makes a very nice looking bed in the way they've done in other of their medieval sets, as this is a somewhat medieval theme. The lower roof does come off in that typical modular building style for easy access to the interior. Put it back on there. And these just attach by a few studs for easy removal for access. And then, of course, it just sets right back on top. You do get a few crates that sit next to the front. They don't attach very well, but they are filled with, monster parts to be shipped out, or even just produce, what you would typically expect to be set near an inn, and those just sit there in the front. So we'll set this section off to the side for now. And we'll look more at the exterior section. So here we have the outside. You have a few spiders, a common enemy for low-level adventurers, and you can even see some mushroom men peeking out of the top there as you go towards the center of the cavern. I already mentioned the treant and the tentacles here. There are a few hidden things, some hidden treasure buried outside of the inn. Nice and hidden. And I believe that was the only hidden one on the front side of the building. You get this nice set of ruins with some nice dragon heads here for the dragon of the set. Some of these pieces do detach a little easily with the one stud connections. So if you are moving the set around, you may bump some things off. So you have a few excellent things here. I should have probably covered the bottom, but we've already seen that now. A small fire for the myconids, which are the mushroom men, who have some very nice heads here, and then just with the round top using that really small body piece there. And those can just sit here. You have some nice environmental traps here, like a thorn vine sort of window to block off the side to the rest of the cave system. A small fire for the myconids to roast whatever it is they're going to eat, or maybe set by adventurers they've already eaten. And then some nice treasure here, a small potion and a shield with some very nice design on it. A very nice shield there. Probably a magic item in the world of D&D. But a nicely detailed shield there with, maybe a mushroom monster or perhaps a mind flayer monster, or something similar, maybe a kraken on it. It's hard to say. But it could be any of the magic shields with an interesting design. And then as we look further down, we have some more underground sections. So if we pick this up to take a closer look, you can see we obviously have our gelatinous cube, but further in the back you can see a variety of monsters and traps. You have a skeleton holding a sword there, some bones scattered around on the interior. Fold that down out of the way. A flail here with a silver piece for the end of the flail, and then a book here in the front. And you can actually access that from the front of the model as well. And then a mini gelatinous cube. It spawned a small diamond there in the back, done by the typical Lego jewel piece, and then a crystal staff here, probably for the wizard to find later on. It does have a few hidden entrances. You can see there's a few other things hidden here on the side. Another jewel and a potion, as well as a door. And that door actually comes right here to this cave entrance. And I'll set this down for a moment. And that just slides right out. It comes with the plants attached to it. So you have this nice hidden entrance into the caverns. And then this just slides right back on, and the entrance is hidden. Now there's also one other piece here in the front, and this whole section does come out. It does bump a little into the tree, but it is here for a little easier access. You have a nice book, spell book here for the wizard to find with a spell piece printed on it. A very nicely detailed spell piece. You do get 2 additional, I think actually 3 additional spell pieces for a few different types of spells. That one was a protection spell, I think. This one's probably necromancy. And then this is your typical fireball spell, in my opinion. And this just slides out quite nicely and then slides right back in, and almost impossible to know it's there unless you are already aware of it, and then you can just attach that back there. So the gelatinous cube is built using the very nice clear blue blocks. It has the traditional pieces of a gelatinous cube, which is the bones, which are just kind of floating there. That's the typical way you'll see a gelatinous cube, is a skeleton floating down a hallway. It also has a weapon and a jewel. Gelatinous cubes only destroy organic matter, typically in D&D. Your DM may decide otherwise. And so those will normally survive inside the cube and are the reward for killing it. In this case, it appears to be a frying pan and a gem. And that is just a very nice gelatinous cube with some nice tiling off on the top, so you could attach something there if you wished. The small gelatinous cube is just a single clear block. I think this has been used in Marvel sets as well. I'm not entirely sure. And then we have one more thing here. We have the entrance for the innkeeper, who is a dragonborn, and we'll slide him out. He could be another adventurer trapped here in the tower. It could be whatever you like. This is a very nice dragonborn figure. I like the printed head. It's very similar to the other dragonborn, just in a different color from the minifigure series that they did for D&D. But we'll look at him a little closer later on. He's probably, the captured innkeeper and kept imprisoned here in the ruins. So that is the exterior section. Next, we have the tower. And this is also a modular building, so I'm going to separate them because my camera does not extend far enough to show everything all at once. So we get a nice picture of a dragonborn couple, probably the prisoner or former innkeeper's parents, would be my guess. And then we have the interior of the dungeon. So we have a large displacer beast, which I will remove for now. We'll take a closer look at him later. And then we have the dungeon section. We have a nice skeleton here, a very common D&D enemy. This one, however, I view as having an invisibility cloak, since it has that nice shiny cloak there, so it's going to sneak around and be deadly. Then we also have the traditional skeleton warrior with armor and a large sword. It's a very nice sword. We'll take a closer look at that as well in a moment. We also have a small golden ring for a magic ring to be found by any of the adventurers, as well as a few additional things hidden away down here. Some plants, perhaps they're magical or poisonous, as well as another spellbook. This one has a nice sticker piece. This one has a nice design on the front. Unfortunately, it is a sticker piece, and it does have that protection spell within it. And you can swap those out very easily as they're just that one-piece connector. We also have another entrance. Now this one is a trapped entrance and does have a falling axe trap here that would smack whoever walks through this door in the face. Close that back. You can see also we have another little potion hidden here and another skeleton here on the top of the stairs with a magical dagger with that bright green tooth there, and another potion here on the top of the stairs. Some nice green flame pieces for the lighting, and of course that trap from the other side. And it can fold up. It doesn't really stay up, but it would make a surprising trap for whoever walks through it. Get some nice detailing here on the side for the cavern, and a nice carved pillar here, as well as some nice stair pieces that go all the way up with a few studs in places for characters to stand. And then another small stair going up into the rest of the tower, as well as a small gold piece left there on the floor for additional treasure. We'll slide that to the back. We'll come to the tower. Tower is quite a bit larger than the other piece, in terms of height at least. And we have a few details. Here we'll show the ground floor, and then I'll scroll up to, move it up to show it. We have some very nice details here, some plants and rock, and then built on top of the rock, the masonry of the tower itself, as well as some more pine trees and other plants growing out of the rock here. A small hidden compartment with a golden potion, maybe a luck potion, and a spider there. A small little crevice for something to crawl through if you wish. A large sort of altar. Maybe it's a trapped altar holding a rare jewel, or maybe it's just an altar to a dragon, perhaps Tiamat, since it's got the 5 dragon heads around it. There is also a key here to enter into the door of the tower. And then a very nice balcony section here to have a minifigure standing by. You may also notice that it has a trap door in this section to either access from the lower section we just saw, or to drop someone into the dungeon itself. And then just a nice door here with a stained glass transom window up on top. You can see the tower is in slight disrepair. We have a nice green jewel here, but it is kind of broken in terms of the masonry there. And then we have some more pieces of the tower as we go up. And another exterior entrance to the tower. As you come around the back, you go outside and see another one of those tower doors with the transom window with some different stained glass there. In this case, colored Lego bricks. And a more complete portion of that top piece of the tower there. Looks very nice. And then some, worn windows on the side. Then as we come in, we actually have the rest of the tower, which has a wizard's study with some skulls, a gem, a skull with a candle on it, a spell piece, a couple spell pieces, I should say, and a chamber pot and a writing desk for the wizard to do his research. And then above that, we have a dragon egg surrounded by green flames, perhaps for some sort of magic ritual, and a sort of broken window behind that ladder there. Up on the very top, we have just a very simple flag, which makes a nice topper for the tower itself. A lot of interesting details on the set. You'll have to build it for yourself to make sure I got all of them, but that is the vast majority of the details. I do like the pillars here on the side of the door. That's quite nice, and some of the little details on the set are very well done, I think. We'll start off by looking at so let's start off by looking a bit closer at some of the monsters we haven't looked closely at yet. The skeletons are the standard Lego skeletons, just several pieces put together. This one, the only difference for this one is this one has that silver or purple cloak of invisibility. The other skeleton is the warrior with the helmet and armor, as well as the large sword. Perhaps it's a magic sword wielded by the skeleton, perhaps it's a regular sword. It is rather differently detailed than the other Lego swords I have seen. So that's a nice addition for the monsters to have as a single molded piece. And then we have our last skeleton. It was just the standard skeleton, this time armed with a green fang dagger. At least that's how I think of it. For monsters, we have several. So we already looked at the myconids, which are a rather simple monster, but well done, I think. Here we have the traditional D&D monster, the Beholder, with its slight underbite, large center eye, and smaller little eyes, which is quite nicely done, I believe. Yeah, this is done with all printed pieces, so you don't have to put 40,000 eye stickers on these little tiny pieces, which is always a nice addition. It's got some nice red on the inside for the inside of the mouth, and then purple and beige for the rest of the monster. And it sits on what I would call a flight stand from miniatures. This would be a flight stand, but in this I would probably just call it the hover stand, so it does look like it's floating, since beholders typically float. They don't normally have legs. But a nice little beholder monster to go with the D&D set. A very thematic monster for this. Along those same lines, we have another thematic monster, and that is the displacer beast. It resembles a cat vaguely, but with an extra set of legs and 2 tentacles with teeth on the end of them to latch onto its prey. These can normally like blink or jump across the battlefield to attack the weakened prey and drag it off to its lair. A very thematic D&D. It's one of the first monsters when I started playing D&D I ever fought. So that was always a very fun adventure and is a very nice addition to this set. I don't know if they're commonly used anymore. They're typically used at lower levels of play as they're not super tough. So at higher levels of D&D, you might not run into them. It would help if it is a little delicate put together from just a lot of single stud connections so that the parts can move, which unfortunately does mean it is a little easy to knock some of these pieces off. It would be nice if it had some like a slightly larger head, but given the size of this, that makes sense that it does not. So that is the displacer beast. Up next we have the owlbear. This is also a pretty traditional D&D monster, especially at lower levels of play, and is a pretty one you're likely to run into out into the wilds. It's got that sort of owlish face, but the rest of the body is a bear with a small tail and some nice details around the figure. Some nice ball joint arms. This one's a little better put together, I think, than the displacer beast, probably because the monster is a little chunkier. So, you get a little extra room for better connections for some of these pieces. The legs aren't quite as maneuverable as you would like, but it is still a very nice small owlbear monster for the adventure. You can have it outside, maybe it's lairing in the caves, whatever you like. So for the last monster, we saved the best for last. This is the red dragon Cinderhowl, a very large red dragon. This feels like it could have been, maybe if it was scaled up a little bit, a set all on its own. It's a very nicely put together. The legs are maneuverable, rotatable here, and then with that hinged connection with that step rotator here for the legs. I don't actually know what that piece is called. They do slide off. Well, I managed to do it earlier with this connector here for the front legs. The back legs are more fixed than the front. The back legs are more fixed in place than the front, but they do bend at where the hips would be. But the legs themselves are fixed and locked in place. The toes can move, or the claws here can be rotated up and down as needed. It's got a very large articulable tail. Now it doesn't articulate in this direction except for here, and that is blocked by this connection here, but it can go down some because it does have two connectors, but it does let you, which gives it a lot of strength, I think, for the length. I think if it was more articulable through the entire length, it would probably fall apart pretty easily. But here in the back, as you can see, I'm knocking some pieces off. Unfortunately, with these little tiny sections, that is not entirely uncommon, particularly when you're trying to hold it in view of a camera. But the back portion of the tail does move a little more than the rest of it, which is nice. It does have this nice bladed section here on the end and some spines going all the way up the tail and then up the back. There is room where you could put a figure to ride the dragon if that's how you want your adventure to go. And then you get these large cloth pieces for the wings held in with those T pieces to kind of keep it in place. The wings don't have a ton of articulation as they're kind of framed in with the Technic pins, or Technic style pieces. So they are kind of locked into this open. There's no, collapsing the wings or anything. They do move at the shoulder though, and you can rotate them. So you can rotate them this way, but you can't adjust them this way. I think it's a fine level of articulation for a set of this size. If it was larger, I think it would need that additional articulation to really feel complete. Some nice armor here on the legs as well, just done with those sort of plate pieces, gives the appearance of armor. And then a nice throat section in that orange, white, and red here. And then it goes up into the head of the dragon, which has some nice articulation, which extends up into the throat of the dragon and under the chin here, giving it a slight beard and some spines sticking down. And the neck does have some good articulation. It can bend a fair bit more than the rest of the dragon. Get some nice articulation there for the dragon itself. The jaw of the dragon comes off super easily. It's actually a little annoying, particularly with the flame piece attached to it. It's a very nice flame piece, but the jaw connects in a single point and not very well. And so it just keeps coming off when you bump the jaw at all, because it doesn't attach very well, which is pretty disappointing for a set. Which is a little disappointing for a set of this size. The mouth doesn't close quite all the way, and you can still see the little attachment for the flame piece, but I think that works out okay. There are some difficulties. The jaw should be able to rotate some, but I find the connection, it doesn't have a ton of movement, and with the way the piece connects, it's more likely to fall off, which is kind of disappointing. I do like how the spines on the head and the horns are done, the way it kind of frames the eye there, which is a nice printed piece. And then you have the spines here on the top as well. I think overall the dragon looks nice, but the jaw is just not attached very well. I think this is designed more as a display set, personally, than a play set, so it doesn't bother me too much, but it is annoying that the jaw does not attach very well. It does look nice, though, and it uses this nice wing piece to kind of give, and some nice angular pieces to give the head a nice shape. I think as looks go, the dragon looks really good. Just a little disappointing in terms of how well it holds together. So now we'll look at the minifigures. So here we have our prisoner. I look at him as kind of the innkeeper as well. Perhaps kidnapped by the wizard or the dragon for their own ends. Mainly because he has these nice pouches here. He has sort of more delicate looking pants than adventuring pants. A nice vest. Just looks kind of like a typical innkeeper from the way they're normally portrayed in video games and that sort of thing. Some nice greenish yellow arms. I'm a little colorblind, so that may not be quite the right color there. And of course that nice molded headpiece with the little horns on the back there. Just a very nice addition to minifigures if you like D&D minifigures. Up next we have the dwarf cleric with some nicely detailed pieces here. He has a little holy symbol, at least in D&D that's what that would be, and a hammer, a typical weapon for clerics. Very traditional. As a dwarven cleric, he has some more heavy armor than you would normally see on a cleric, and of course a large beard. Some nice details here on the back as well. He does have a secondary face print where post-battle, taken some wounds, but victorious. Underneath the beard there, you actually get some very nice details of the cleric torso there, with that sort of, sunlight symbol, probably a cleric of Lathander, maybe something else. Just a very nice figure. For this figure, this figure also comes with an alternative head if you wish to have a female dwarf instead of a male dwarf. And that, of course, comes with the secondary print there as well, and a hairpiece. Unfortunately, with the lighting I have, this is perhaps not the best lighting for it. Does have a hairpiece, some nice detail there. Because it's a white hairpiece, my lighting is a little too reflective on it, which I did not realize would be an issue. All the figures for the heroes and the wizard, the evil wizard, I should say, come with additional heads so that you could have the alternate gender of hero, if you wish. Here is the orc rogue, this time armed with a crossbow. It also comes with dual daggers, if you wish to arm your hero that way. We'll slide out the crossbow for right now. Comes with a nice cape and some nice details here on the figure. Some very nicely detailed figures here. Really pleased with that. The nice hood piece, this time in blue instead of black, which is typical. No reverse printing on the head for this figure. And here is the back of that figure with some pouches and a grapple, or maybe a throwing star there, or maybe that's just part of the armor. But some very nice details. This one does come with an alternative face print for a secondary face, but also no print on the back. Our elven wizard comes with the nice robe piece, a spell book, and a wand. The spell book has a sticker piece for the front, but is nicely detailed, I guess, for a sticker, and then has a spell inside. You can, of course, swap that spell with any of the other spells that I showed earlier and move those around as you wish. Some nice gloved hands there, unless in your world elf hands are blue. That is whatever you prefer. Some nice tassels continued around the back of the torso there. No back printing on the robe, but some very nice front printing. And of course, the elven piece is molded ears on it to give that elven look, and has an alternate face print and some small shoulder pads on this figure as well. Just a very small addition there. Also has an alternate head, I should say, with two different faces on it as well. Last, we have our gnome fighter. I would have thought this was a halfling fighter instead of a gnome fighter, because I would have thought gnomes would be smaller. But in this case, comes with a nice shield with a displacer beast printed on it, which is a nice touch for the set. They didn't just reuse another set's shields. This one has some gauntlets based on the hand color here, and a small sword. You can also, if you wish to have this one armed with a larger sword, you can as well. In this case, the sword is actually larger than the minifigure. So there is that. This one's got a nicely detailed torso. The legs are a little disappointing on this one. It is supposed to be a gnome, so they are shorter, which is fine, but there are no details on them. They're just the typical black half legs that you see in like a Harry Potter set or something. This one does have pointed ears as a gnome, and it does also have an alternate face print there on this head, and the half armor or half pauldron armor there as well, and some nice details on the back of the minifigure for those armor plates, very similar to the front, just expect on the back. And it has an alternate head as well, if you wish to have that one instead. So I think that's a nice addition, especially for a D&D set, to have all those characters with alternate heads. It's a nice touch. Here we have the evil wizard using the evil spells in bright green, which we'll take off for now, and having a evil staff with green gem, clearly the owner of the tower, as we saw the green gems on the side there earlier, and you can see one there in the back as well, though a little out of focus. Some very nice details on this figure. I will take off his hood for a moment so we can get some better view there. So when he's in evil mode, you can have those glowing green eyes, and when he's in good mode, he looks a bit more normal. There's also a hairpiece, but I have that on the other head, so I'll show that momentarily. Here is the back of the minifigure, very nicely detailed, hidden underneath the cloak. He has several potions tucked away to keep him in the fight for longer, or to do something to the adventurers. He has a nice dragon medallion in between those robes, the front of his robes there, and some very nice details on this figure. I am very impressed with the minifigures in the set. I think they look great. And here is one of the heads with the hairpiece, which would maybe fit a little better on this figure instead. And here he is with that hairpiece, very wizard looking, and the alternate face also with the glowing green eyes for when they are in spellcaster mode or when they are being deceptive, whichever you prefer. Some very nice figures in the set. I really like how some of these, I really like how detailed they are. They're quite nice. Overall, I think the set's really good. This set was designed as part of the LEGO Ideas line, which means it was originally a fan-submitted design from Lucas Bolt, whose LEGO Ideas name is Bolt Builds. And in the instruction booklet, the first one at least, of the 4, you get a nice printing, a nice picture of the mock-up design with some of the additional, of the original, nice printing of the original submission from him. So you can see some very different coloration to that set, slightly smaller. But I think they did a really good job converting the set to a Lego set. for building. I think the set would go very well with the minifigure series for D&D, which I'll link either in the annotations or down below if you'd like to look at those, see how those might might fit in this. I think they'd go really well. When putting this together, I will say it did feel like it was 3 separate sets, maybe even 4 separate sets. The tower feels like it should be its own set. The ruins feel like maybe they could attach to the tower, but maybe should also be their own set. And the inn just felt very different from the rest of the build. I mean, I know the original design included all these features, but it does feel like from a building perspective, this would have worked fine as 2 or 3 separate sets. Maybe the dragon as its own. I can see why they wouldn't want to do that, but I was kind of surprised to see that there weren't more Lego D&D sets coming out. This set seemed to be very popular. Maybe it wasn't as popular as it seemed to me, because maybe amongst the people I know, it's more popular, and to other people, it's not. It was rather expensive of a set. That may also have something to do with it as well. As I mentioned, when we looked at the dragon, the mouth of the dragon just doesn't stay on very well, which is a little disappointing. But overall, I think the set was really fun. I would have liked to have seen a larger inn. Maybe it would be cool to see something from like Tales of the Yawning Portal style inn, just one large inn, which this set felt kind of reminiscent of. But overall, I mean, it's Lego. It's a fun building experience. If you like Lego and you like D&D, you're going to like the set. If you aren't a fan of D&D, maybe the set may not meet what you want. But overall, it's a fun build. Of course, it's Lego, but I do think it goes together pretty well. It does feel like more of a display set, as I mentioned earlier in the video, than a play set. You could use it as a play set, but some of the things feel a little more delicate than you would want for a play set. Like the dragon's mouth just keeps coming off for me. Maybe I put it together wrong. Maybe I missed a piece or something, but it does feel like it's not quite as well attached as it could be. And some of the features of this are a little tight to use as a playset, I think. Well, that's all I have for this week. Leave me a comment down below on your thoughts on this Lego set, and I will see you in the next one.